This is a packet tracer lab that I created to go with learning about the application layer in the Cisco CCNA and all the services and servers, essentially, and services that are available at the application layer. This is also a good beginning tutorial if you're learning how to use packet tracer and you want to get more out of packet tracer. So in this packet tracer that I've set up, the goal is going to be 1, to physically connect all of the devices, 2, to configure the IP addressing on all the devices, and then most importantly to configure these servers. We've got a server here, and a server here with basically services or server applications, and then make sure that these server applications work on the LAN that we've created. So in this lab you can see that we have 2 PC clients over here. Both PC clients are going to run the DHCP client. So they're going to get their IP addressing automatically from the DHCP server. This server up at the top here, its name is server-DHCP-DNS. So this server is going to run DHCP services and DNS services. So this will be a DNS server and a DHCP server. Then down here we're going to have a server that is going to be our mail server right here. And this server over here will be a web server and an FTP server. And we're going to make sure that all of these services are working and that the clients can communicate with these servers and access the server services. Then we have also a router over here in the corner. Now we won't be using the router or the internet very much in this lab, but it's here just to know that this is the router and gateway at 192.168.1.1. If you're a Cisco Academy student and you have access to Packet Tracer 5.3.3, then you can go to my website at danscourses.com and download this Packet Tracer starter file for this activity. Just go to danscourses.com, click on CCNA1, and you'll find this downloadable file under the PT server activity page. Okay, so let's get started. Step 1 here is to physically connect all of the devices with the appropriate cables. So we're going to need to get straight through cables. To connect a switch to a router, Ethernet to Ethernet is a straight through cable. So we'll click on the switch and choose the interface Fast Ethernet 01, click on the router and choose the interface Fast Ethernet 00. Alright, so we've connected the first 2 devices. Now we just need to connect the rest of the devices. And I'm just going to go down the list using straight through cables. I'll take the next available Ethernet port, click on the server and grab its Ethernet port. And I'm going to run through this. Click, drag, click, and then click again. And then last but not least, this last server is also going to need to be connected. You'll notice as soon as we connect to the switch, all of these port lights start to go from blocking to listening to learning to forwarding on the switch. That's because the switch by default has all of its switch ports in the on state, and all of the switch ports are already configured for VLAN 1 automatically. So as soon as they connect to a PC which is also on and connected, you can see the green lights coming up. Notice how the switch and the router though have red lights here. We do not have a connection, we do not have a live link here between the switch and the router. And that's because the router's Fast Ethernet port, or Fast Ethernet interface, is down. So we'll start configuring that first. Now, for this activity, I've labeled each device with the IP address that we want to use for the particular device. Now, the router, the servers, all need static IP addresses that are not going to change. But the clients here, notice I've put DHCP client. They're going to take automatic dynamic IP addressing using the DHCP client. So we won't have to give them a static IP address. But we will for these other devices. So I'm going to click on the router, go to config, go to Fast Ethernet 00, turn the port on, and then put in the IP address, 192.168.1.1, and then I'll click in the subnet mask window, and it gives us a 24-bit subnet mask, and that's perfect. So I'll just close that. As soon as we do that, notice the link lights start to start up, and you can see the switch here moving from blocking to listening to learning to forwarding. Okay, so now we need to set up the IP addressing on our servers. This top server is going to be 192.168.1.254, so we'll click on the server, click on desktop, IP configuration, static, 192.168.1.254, subnet mask. Now the default gateway. The default gateway is the router which we just configured. So we'll put the IP address in there. And now the DNS server. Now the DNS server is going to be this server, this machine right here. So two choices: we could put ourselves here, or we could say that this DNS server is going to forward requests out of the network, let's say maybe to this router. So we'll put the router as its DNS server. Okay? Alright, that's done. Now we need to do these other two servers, so we'll do them. We'll start with this one, 252, desktop, IP configuration, the gateway router 1.1, and now the DNS server. Now our DNS server for every other device on the network is 192.168.1.254. So as far as this server is concerned, the DNS server on the network is this other server up here that is our DNS server. Okay, let's do the next one. Okay, all set. So now, whoops, we've got IP addressing set up on this server, and this server, and the router, so we're ready to go. Now, our clients are going to get DHCP automatic IP addressing, so we don't have to worry about them. So now we'll go to the next step on the list here, configure the server services on the devices as listed, DHCP, DNS, mail, web, and FTP. So we'll start with our DHCP server. Now our DHCP server is up here at the top, so we'll click on it. We'll go to config, and we'll click on DHCP. Notice it says services. So these are our servers that we can run here. So we'll click on DHCP. You can see that the DHCP server is on by default. We have a pool named server pool, and all we need to do is fill in and configure the IP addressing that we want to hand out to our clients. We want to give our clients the default gateway, so we'll put that in here. And we want to give our DNS server, which, by the way, is this computer, so we'll give it ourselves, right? And then the starting IP address. We're going to start our clients out at 100, and the maximum number of users will hand out, let's say, 50 addresses. And then when we're done configuring this, we need to click Save. And as soon as we hit Save, notice it loads these settings in here under our server pool. Okay, so now our DHCP server is configured. Let's test it out to see if it's working. So we'll close this window, and now we'll open up our PC1 client over here. We'll open it up. We'll go to Desktop. We'll go to IP configuration, and we'll click on DHCP, and you can see the request is going out, and you can see we picked up the IP address 192.168.1.100 like we were supposed to. We picked up our subnet mask and our DNS server, but we didn't pick up the gateway. Now this happens sometimes, so I'm going to just toggle these again until I get my default gateway in there, and there it is. So now I have my default gateway. I've picked up the IP address this time though, 101. Notice the 101 here. Alright, so I'll close that and I'll go to PC2 and we'll do the same thing. Go to desktop, IP configuration, go to DHCP. You can see the request is going out, and of course it came in, missing the default gateway though, so we'll toggle it again, see if we can get that in there. Not quite. Okay, so it's not populating easily here. So what I'll do is I'll just work this server until we get it working here. Go to DHCP, turn it off, turn it on, and see if we can get that in there. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it right now. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we got all the addresses populated. So our DHCP requests were successful, and we were able to get IP addresses for our two clients. Now this client is 102 and this client is 101. Let's see if we can ping each other on the network. So we'll close that, open up a command prompt, and ping 192.168. Let's start with actually our router, .1.1. We're getting a reply from the router. We can get a reply from 102, which is the other client on the network. We can get a reply from 254, that is the DNS server. Okay, perfect.